If you're over 50 and you've noticed that your sleep is lighter, your energy isn't what it used to be, or your erections aren't as reliable, don't automatically assume it's just age. There may be a simple nutritional factor worth understanding. And before you take anything tonight, you need to know who actually benefits, what the research says, and what mistakes could do more harm than good. If you're a man over 50, you notice something has changed. You still eat well. You try to stay active, but your energy isn't quite where it used to be. Your sleep feels lighter. And perhaps most frustrating, your erections aren't as reliable as they once were. It's easy to look at these changes and say, I'm getting older, this is normal. Your body does change with age, but not every change should be dismissed as aging. Your sleep, circulation, hormones, muscles, mood, and sexual function are connected in ways that are easy to overlook. When one part of your health starts slipping, other areas can sometimes feel the effects too. That's why today we're looking at a nutrient most people associate with bones, vitamin D. Now, I want to be clear from the beginning. Vitamin D is not a magic pill for erections, energy, or sleep. Taking more does not automatically mean better results. The bigger question is whether your body has enough in the first place. Research suggests that vitamin D status may be connected with several aspects of health, including cardiovascular and muscle function. Researchers have also studied its relationship with sexual function and sleep. So, could something this basic be worth checking? Over the next few minutes, we'll look at who is most likely to have low vitamin D, what researchers have discovered about erections and circulation, why some men with low levels may experience fatigue, and what vitamin D may and may not have to do with sleep. We'll also uncover mistakes that can turn a sensible health habit into an unnecessary one. Because before you reach for a supplement tonight, you need to understand what may actually be happening inside your body when vitamin D levels are too low. When most people hear the words vitamin D, they immediately think about bones, and that's certainly an important part of the story. Vitamin D helps your body absorb calcium, which is essential for maintaining strong bones as you age. But vitamin D is not simply a bone vitamin. Think of it less like gasoline that gives you an instant burst of energy, and more like a maintenance signal your body uses to help several systems work properly. It plays a role in muscle function, helps regulate processes involved in the immune system, and interacts with many other functions throughout the body. That doesn't mean vitamin D controls all of these systems by itself. Your health is much more complicated than that. But having an adequate level gives your body one important piece it needs. Here's where age becomes relevant. As we get older, our skin becomes less efficient at producing vitamin D from sunlight. At the same time, many people simply spend less time outdoors. Maybe you work indoors, spend more time at home, or intentionally avoid the sun. And for some older adults, diet alone may not provide enough vitamin D. Consider a 62-year-old man who used to spend hours outside but now spends most of his day indoors. He notices that he's tired more often and assumes, well, I'm 62, that's just what happens. Maybe it is, but maybe there's another piece worth investigating. And here's something important. Low vitamin D does not always announce itself with an obvious warning sign. A person can have low levels without knowing it. That's one reason doctors may consider risk factors, symptoms, medical history, and sometimes blood testing when deciding whether vitamin D status deserves attention. But we also need to avoid going too far in the other direction. If your vitamin D level is low, that does not automatically mean it caused your fatigue, poor sleep, or sexual difficulties. Those symptoms can have many causes, including medications, sleep problems, blood sugar issues, cardiovascular health, hormones, stress, and lifestyle. So the goal isn't to blame everything on one vitamin. The goal is to understand whether vitamin D is one missing piece of your health puzzle. And when we look at that puzzle more closely, vitamin D becomes especially interesting when we move from bones and muscles to a subject many men don't readily discuss: sexual function. Now, let's talk about the question that probably brought you here in the first place. Can vitamin D actually make a difference when erections aren't as strong or reliable as they used to be? An erection depends heavily on blood flow. When you're sexually stimulated, blood vessels supplying the penis need to relax and widen, allowing more blood to enter and helping the erection develop. And this is where sexual health connects with cardiovascular health. The same blood vessels that deliver blood throughout your body also supply the tissues involved in an erection. That's why erectile difficulties can sometimes be an early sign that something isn't quite right with overall vascular health. Now, where does vitamin D fit into this picture? Some observational studies have found an association between lower vitamin D levels and a higher likelihood of erectile dysfunction or cardiovascular problems. Researchers have also investigated possible links between vitamin D, inflammation, blood vessel function, and nitric oxide, a substance that helps blood vessels relax. But here's the part you should not skip. An association is not the same as proof that vitamin D deficiency caused the erection problem, and it does not prove that taking a vitamin D supplement will automatically produce stronger erections. Think of it like seeing two warning lights appear on a car dashboard at the same time. One light may be connected to the other, or both may be caused by a third problem. You need to investigate before deciding what is responsible. That's why vitamin D should not be treated like an erectile dysfunction medication. If a man over 50 develops persistent erectile difficulties, it's worth looking at the bigger picture. Blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, medications, hormone levels, sleep, physical activity, stress, and cardiovascular risk can all matter. And here's the question I want you to remember. What if the erection problem isn't really about the bedroom at all? Sometimes it can be your body's way of signaling that your blood vessels need more attention. That doesn't mean you should panic. An erection problem may give you a reason to have a conversation with your doctor that could uncover a treatable health issue earlier than you otherwise might have. So if your vitamin D level is low, correcting that deficiency may be appropriate as part of your overall health plan. But don't expect one supplement to solve a complex problem involving circulation, hormones, sleep, and metabolism. The smarter approach is to ask what your body is trying to tell you today. That broader perspective is especially important after 50. And there's another reason this matters. The same systems involved in circulation and overall health can influence something you notice, your energy. That brings us to a connection many men don't expect. The same health factors affecting circulation can also influence how energetic you feel during the day. Now let's talk about something many men quietly accept after 50, feeling tired. Maybe you wake up and don't feel refreshed. By afternoon, your energy drops. Tasks that used to feel easy require more effort. And eventually you tell yourself, I'm just getting older. But persistent fatigue deserves a little more attention than that. Vitamin D may be one factor worth considering, particularly when levels are genuinely low. Some research has found an association between low vitamin D status and fatigue or reduced muscle function. But that doesn't mean every tired man needs vitamin D. In fact, fatigue can have many different causes. Imagine two men sitting across from each other, both saying the exact same thing. Doctor, I'm tired all the time. The first man has been sleeping only 5 or 6 hours a night. He wakes frequently, spends most of his day sitting, and rarely exercises. The second man has adequate sleep and a reasonable routine, but testing reveals a vitamin D deficiency. They have the same complaint, but potentially very different reasons and very different solutions. This is why simply taking a supplement without understanding the cause can miss the point. There's also an important difference between feeling tired and experiencing muscle weakness. Fatigue is that feeling of having little energy or motivation. Muscle weakness is when your muscles actually struggle to produce the strength you normally have. And once weakness or fatigue causes you to move less, another cycle can begin. You move less, your muscles become less conditioned, everyday activities feel harder, and you become even more tired. Then you move even less. Breaking that cycle may require regular physical activity, better sleep, adequate nutrition, and treatment of any underlying medical problem. If vitamin D deficiency is part of the picture, correcting it may help. But it won't create instant energy like flipping a switch. And if fatigue is persistent, severe, or unexplained, it's worth discussing with a healthcare professional. Problems such as anemia, thyroid disorders, medication effects, depression, sleep disorders, and metabolic conditions can all produce similar symptoms. But there's another part of this story that sounds almost contradictory. Vitamin D is often discussed for energy, yet some people take it at night because they believe it improves sleep. So, what does the science actually suggest? Before reaching for a supplement tonight, let's separate what is known about vitamin D and sleep from what is simply popular online. Sleep becomes increasingly important as you move through your 50s, 60s, and beyond. When you consistently sleep poorly, the effects can reach far beyond feeling tired the next morning. Poor sleep can affect your mood, appetite, metabolism, exercise recovery, concentration, and even your interest in intimacy. And if you're already struggling with low energy or sexual performance, several nights of poor sleep can make those problems feel even more noticeable. So it's understandable that men are looking for simple ways to sleep better. This is where vitamin D often enters the conversation. Some research has found an association between vitamin D status and sleep quality. In other words, people with lower vitamin D levels have sometimes been found to report poorer sleep or certain sleep-related problems. But here's where online health advice can go too far. Vitamin D is not a sleeping pill. And there is no strong evidence showing that taking vitamin D immediately before bed will automatically give every man deeper, longer, or more restful sleep. In fact, the timing itself may not be the most important issue. Think about it this way. If your body is a house, vitamin D is one small part of the maintenance system. You wouldn't expect replacing one component to instantly fix every problem in the house. The same principle applies to your health. There's also an important practical point. Vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin, meaning your body handles it differently from water-soluble vitamins. Many people choose to take it with a meal that contains some dietary fat, which can help with absorption, and individual experiences can differ. If you take vitamin D at night and notice that your sleep seems worse, it may make sense to discuss changing the timing with your doctor or pharmacist. You don't necessarily need to force yourself into a bedtime routine simply because someone online said that's the ideal time. The bigger priority is correcting a genuine deficiency when appropriate and taking the supplement consistently according to professional guidance. So let's make the distinction very clear. The myth is, take vitamin D right before bed and you'll automatically sleep deeper. The more accurate message is this: vitamin D status may be related to sleep health, but bedtime dosing is not a guaranteed sleep treatment. And that distinction matters because taking more of something you don't need isn't automatically better. Now comes the question that could save you from one of the most common mistakes with this vitamin. How do you know whether you actually need more? So, how do you know whether vitamin D is actually something you should be thinking about? The first step is not automatically buying a supplement. It's understanding whether you have factors that make low vitamin D more likely. For example, if you spend very little time outdoors, your skin has fewer opportunities to produce vitamin D from sunlight. And as you get older, your skin becomes less efficient at making it. Diet can matter too. If you rarely eat foods that provide vitamin D, your dietary intake may be limited. Some men may have additional risk factors. People with certain gastrointestinal conditions that interfere with nutrient absorption can have more difficulty maintaining adequate levels. Obesity can also be associated with lower circulating vitamin D because vitamin D can become distributed differently in body fat. Certain medications may affect vitamin D metabolism as well. And there's another factor that often gets overlooked: skin pigmentation. People with darker skin generally produce vitamin D less efficiently from the same amount of ultraviolet exposure compared with people with lighter skin. That doesn't mean darker skin automatically means deficiency. It simply means it can be one factor worth considering. Of course, age itself matters. A 70-year-old man who spends most of his time indoors, eats very few vitamin D-containing foods, and has never checked his vitamin D status may have a very different risk profile from a 52-year-old who spends regular time outdoors and eats a varied diet. But here's the surprising part. You can have low vitamin D without feeling a specific symptom that says, this is vitamin D deficiency. You might simply feel tired or less physically strong, or you may feel completely normal. That's why symptoms alone can't tell you the whole story. If you have several risk factors, persistent symptoms, or a previous history of low vitamin D, it's reasonable to discuss your situation with a healthcare professional. Depending on your circumstances, they may decide whether a blood test is appropriate. And remember, having one risk factor does not prove that you're deficient. The goal isn't to assume you need more vitamin D. The goal is to find out whether your body actually needs it, and if it does, how much is appropriate. Because even when vitamin D is appropriate, more is not automatically better. And this is where many well-meaning men make a mistake. Before you decide that vitamin D is the answer to everything you've been feeling, let's slow down for a moment. There are 5 mistakes I want men over 50 to avoid. The first is assuming every symptom means you have a vitamin D deficiency. You're tired, your sleep isn't great, or your erections aren't as reliable, and you immediately blame vitamin D. But those symptoms can have many causes. Poor sleep, stress, medications, blood sugar problems, thyroid conditions, anemia, and cardiovascular issues can all play a role. A supplement can't replace finding the real cause. The second mistake is thinking more vitamin D means more benefit. It doesn't work that way. Your body needs appropriate amounts, not unlimited amounts. Taking excessive doses over time can raise calcium levels in the blood and potentially cause serious problems. More is not automatically better, simply because something is a vitamin. The third mistake is becoming obsessed with the exact bedtime. There is no universally proven magic hour when every man should take vitamin D for better erections or deeper sleep. If supplementation is appropriate, consistency and taking an appropriate amount matter far more than chasing a perfect minute on the clock. The fourth mistake is taking supplements without considering your medications or health conditions. Some medications can affect vitamin D metabolism, and certain medical conditions can change how your body absorbs or handles nutrients. If you're taking several medications or managing a chronic condition, it's smart to ask your doctor or pharmacist before adding a high-dose supplement. And the fifth mistake may be the biggest of all, using vitamin D as a replacement for healthy habits. A supplement cannot replace regular physical activity. It can't compensate for consistently poor sleep, a highly processed diet, smoking, excessive alcohol, or uncontrolled blood pressure and blood sugar. Think about your health like a team. Vitamin D may be one player, but it cannot win the entire game by itself. So here's a question worth asking yourself. If you fixed only one thing this week, would it be the vitamin or the habit that determines whether your entire body benefits from better nutrition? For many men, the answer may involve something much more practical: moving more, sleeping better, eating well, and addressing cardiovascular risk. Because the real goal isn't simply getting a supplement into your body, it's creating the environment where your body can actually benefit from better nutrition. So if vitamin D is only one piece of the puzzle, what does a better routine actually look like after 50? It doesn't need to be complicated. In fact, the most useful changes are often surprisingly simple. Start with your morning. When practical, spend some time outdoors and get appropriate daylight exposure. Don't think of sunlight as a prescription for vitamin D, because excessive ultraviolet exposure can damage your skin. Instead, think of getting outside as one part of a healthy daily routine. Then move your body. A walk, some gentle mobility work, or another activity you enjoy can help you stay physically capable. And if you're able to exercise safely, regular activity supports cardiovascular fitness, muscle strength, circulation, and overall well-being. During the day, avoid sitting for hours without interruption. Even short movement breaks can help you stay more active. Your meals matter too. Aim for a balanced diet that provides adequate protein, vegetables, fruits, whole grains, healthy fats, and other nutrient-rich foods. You don't need a perfect diet. You need a pattern you can maintain. Then comes the evening. Give your brain a chance to slow down. Reduce excessive screen stimulation before bed. Keep your sleep and wake times reasonably consistent, and create a relaxing wind-down routine. If you drink alcohol, remember that more is not better for sleep, and heavy meals close to bedtime may make some people uncomfortable or interfere with restful sleep. Now let's bring vitamin D back into the picture. If you've been advised to take vitamin D, use an appropriate amount rather than assuming a larger dose will work better. If you're unsure about your dose, medications, or health conditions, talk with your healthcare professional or pharmacist. Because vitamin D is fat-soluble, taking it with a meal that contains some dietary fat may help your body absorb it. And remember, you don't have to force it into a bedtime routine simply because the internet says nighttime is best. The bigger message is this: don't build your health around one supplement. Think about circulation, metabolic health, sleep, physical activity, nutrition, stress, and healthy body weight as pieces of the same picture. When those pieces work together, you're giving your body a much stronger foundation. And now let's connect all of these pieces, because if a man has declining erections, low energy, and poor sleep at the same time, there are a few warning signs he shouldn't simply blame on age. There comes a point when the smartest health decision isn't adding another supplement. It's having a conversation with your doctor. If erectile problems keep happening, especially when they represent a clear change from your usual pattern, don't automatically assume it's simply age. Erectile dysfunction can sometimes occur alongside cardiovascular risk factors, including high blood pressure, diabetes, or problems affecting blood vessels. And the same applies to energy. If you're experiencing significant fatigue that doesn't improve with better sleep, nutrition, and reasonable activity, it's worth finding out why. New muscle weakness also deserves attention, particularly if it is getting worse or interfering with everyday activities. Sleep problems matter too. If you're regularly struggling to fall asleep, waking repeatedly, or feeling exhausted despite spending enough time in bed, there may be an underlying issue worth discussing, and some symptoms deserve more urgent attention. Chest discomfort or unusual shortness of breath, especially with physical activity, should not be blamed on vitamin deficiency. Likewise, major unexplained changes in weight, excessive thirst, frequent urination, or other new symptoms may point toward metabolic or other medical problems that need proper evaluation. Here's the reassuring part. Making an appointment does not mean something serious is definitely wrong. It simply means you're choosing to understand the cause instead of guessing. Your doctor may review your symptoms, medications, lifestyle, medical history, blood pressure, and other risk factors. Depending on your situation, they may decide whether blood tests or additional evaluation are appropriate. And this is especially important when sexual changes, low energy, and poor sleep appear together. Instead of asking, "Which supplement should I take?" sometimes the better question is, "What is my body trying to tell me?" That mindset can help you avoid unnecessary supplements while making sure important health problems aren't overlooked. So if you remember only a few things from this entire video, let them be these 5. Let's bring everything together, because after all this discussion, you don't need to remember every scientific detail. You just need to remember the big picture. First, vitamin D matters, but the important question is whether you're deficient, not whether you're simply getting older. More isn't automatically better. Second, having an adequate vitamin D level may support overall health, but vitamin D is not a guaranteed treatment for erectile dysfunction. If erections have changed significantly, look beyond supplements and consider the bigger picture of circulation and cardiovascular health. Third, sleep, energy, and sexual function are connected. Poor sleep can affect daytime energy and sexual desire, while problems with overall health can influence several of these areas at the same time. Fourth, there is no proven universal magic bedtime for vitamin D. If supplementation is appropriate for you, focus on taking an appropriate amount consistently and in a way that fits your routine. And fifth, if symptoms persist, investigate the underlying cause instead of endlessly adding supplements. Imagine what that approach can look like 6 months from now. A more consistent sleep routine, regular movement, better awareness of your blood pressure and metabolic health, smarter decisions about supplements, and greater confidence when talking with your doctor. That's a much stronger goal than simply hoping one vitamin will fix everything. Because your health after 50 isn't about chasing shortcuts. It's about understanding the signals your body gives you and responding to them wisely. And perhaps the most important lesson isn't about one vitamin at all. It's about what your body may be trying to tell you as you move beyond 50. If you've noticed changes in your energy, sleep, or sexual health after 50, don't automatically tell yourself, "This is just aging." Aging is real, but unnecessary decline should not simply be accepted without asking questions. The goal isn't to chase every new supplement or find a magic pill. It's to understand your health, correct genuine deficiencies when they exist, build better daily habits, and speak with your healthcare professional when something doesn't feel right. Your goal after 50 isn't to become 30 again. It's to give the body you have today the best chance to stay strong, active, energetic, and healthy for the years ahead. If this video helped you, please like it, subscribe to Dr. David Jr. Health, and share it with a man over 50 who may benefit. And I'd love to know in the comments, have you ever had your vitamin D level checked? Because there may be another overlooked factor affecting men's energy, circulation, and healthy aging that we need to talk about next.